All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're looking into Hostinger, and specifically we've got this YouTube review someone sent in. Should we just jump right in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first impressions. After a quick skim, it seems like Hostinger could be a real contender in the web hosting space. But of course, the real test is, are they the right fit for your specific website needs?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And that's exactly what we're here to unpack today.
Exactly. So let's dive in. The YouTuber starts by talking about Hostinger's origin story. Founded back in 2004, a group of, get this, entrepreneurs wanted to offer great service without the crazy price tag. Classic underdog story, am I right?
Absolutely. It's a tale as old as time. But what's really impressive is how they've grown since then. Over 29 million users in 170 countries. That's massive.
29 million, wow. Okay, so they've clearly got something figured out. And speaking of figuring things out, let's talk about their hosting plans. They've got shared hosting, which seems to be their bread and butter, starting at just $1.99 a month.
Yeah, that's incredibly competitive pricing.
Right. And then they've also got cloud and VPS hosting for when you need a bit more, power under the hood. But honestly, what really caught my eye was the unlimited bandwidth on many of these plans. That's got to be a huge selling point for a lot of people.
It's a big deal, for sure. Unlimited bandwidth essentially means your website can handle a ton of traffic without slowing down. Think of it like this. It's a highway with no speed limit for your visitors.
I like that analogy. So no more worrying about your website crashing during a big product launch or anything.
Exactly. But, and the YouTuber does point this out, there's a bit of a catch with those budget-friendly shared plans, limited data transfer.
There's always a catch, isn't there? So what does that mean exactly? Limited data transfer.
Essentially, it means there's a limit on the total amount of data that can be transferred between your server and your visitors' devices each month. Now, this might not be a big deal for a smaller blog or a website, but
If you're hosting a ton of videos or high-res images, that could be a problem. Okay, good to know. So moving on to performance, because let's face it, nobody likes a slow website. This review was raving about Hostinger's use of something called Lightspeed Web Server technology.
Lightspeed is a big deal in the hosting world. It's known for its speed and efficiency.
Okay, so it's legit. And on top of that, they use something called Cloud Linux, which I'm assuming is also about making things run smoothly.
You got it. Both of those technologies are designed to optimize performance and make sure your website loads as quickly as possible.
That's what we like to hear. And to top it all off, they've got data centers all over the globe, which I guess makes sense considering their global reach.
Data centers are super important for website speed and performance. Basically, they're like strategically located hubs that store your website's data and deliver it to visitors quickly no matter where they are in the world.
So the closer the data center is to your audience, the faster your website loads for them.
Exactly. It's all about reducing that lag time and providing a seamless experience for your visitors.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, here's something that seems almost too good to be true. The review mentioned Hostinger boasting 100% uptime in recent months. Is that even possible?
100% uptime is ambitious, to say the least.
Yeah, it did seem a little hard to believe.
Even the best hosting providers out there experience the occasional hiccup. But if it's true, it speaks volumes about Hostinger's commitment to reliability.
That's true. Okay, so we've got speed, we've got hopefully reliability. What about security? The review mentioned SSL certificates and daily backups. Those are pretty standard these days, right?
Yeah, most reputable hosts offer those features. But here's the thing, and this is important. Are those daily backups available on all plans?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I could see some providers, maybe to incentivize those higher tier plans, limiting things like backups to like once a week on the cheaper options.
Exactly. And that's definitely something to watch out for. And, when you're dealing with something as important as your website, having those regular backups can be a lifesaver.
Totally agree. All right, so we've talked about security, but what about user friendliness? The review mentioned Hostinger's custom control panel called H-Panel. Have you heard of this?
I have. It's actually one of the things that sets Hostinger apart. Instead of going with Xpanel, which is kind of the industry standard, they decided to develop their own.
Bold move. So is it any good?
From what I've seen and heard, yeah, it's really well designed, especially for beginners. They've really focused on making it intuitive and easy to navigate.
So are we talking drag and drop website building here?
Not quite drag and drop, but they do have features like one-click app installations, which can save you a ton of time and hassle. Imagine being able to set up a WordPress site with just a single click.
Okay, that does sound pretty convenient. But I'm wondering, does that simplicity come at a cost? Like, what if you're a bit more tech savvy and you want more fine-grained control over your hosting environment?
That's a great question. And it's something to consider. It's possible that HPanel, while incredibly user-friendly, might not offer the same level of granular control as you might find with cPanel or other more advanced control panel options.
So it's a trade-off. Ease of use for potentially less flexibility.
Exactly. It really boils down to your own comfort level and what you envision needing from your hosting.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Now, one thing this YouTuber was pretty adamant about was that there's a big difference between Hostinger's budget-friendly shared hosting plans and their premium offerings, like
Yeah.
cloud and VPS hosting. It's like comparing, I don't know, a bicycle to a sports car.
I like that analogy. And honestly, he's not wrong. Those entry-level shared plans are fantastic for someone who's just starting out, maybe has a personal website or a small blog, and doesn't need a ton of bells and whistles. But as your website grows and you start getting more traffic, you might start running into those limitations we talked about earlier, like the data transfer caps.
Right, and those weekly backups instead of daily, that could be a real headache if something goes wrong.
Absolutely. That's why it's so crucial to think long-term when choosing a hosting plan. Don't just base your decision on your current needs. Think about where you see your website being in a year, even 2 years down the line.
So don't just look for a plan that fits your budget today. Look for one that can grow with you.
Exactly. And that might mean starting with a basic shared plan and upgrading down the road. Or it might mean biting the bullet and going with a more robust plan from the get-go.
So many options, so many decisions. It's enough to make your head spin. But hey, that's why we do these deep dives, right? To break it all down and help you make the most informed decision.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of informed decisions, there's one crucial aspect we haven't really touched on yet: customer support.
Oh, that's a big one. Because what good is a super affordable, feature-packed hosting plan if you can't get a hold of anyone when something goes wrong?
You hit the nail on the head. So let's delve into Hostinger's customer support and see what we can find out. This is where those real user experiences, like the one shared in this YouTube review, can be incredibly valuable.
All right, so let's wrap this up. We've covered a ton of ground here. From Hostinger's beginnings to their performance claims, we've talked plans, pricing, features, even the ins and outs of data centers. But the big question remains, is Hostinger all it's cracked up to be?
The million-dollar question, right? And honestly, I think the answer is it depends.
It depends. Come on, you can't leave us hanging like that.
Aw, fair enough.
Yep.
Okay, so it depends really means it depends on you, your needs, your budget, your comfort level with technology, all of that factors in.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like if you're just starting out, maybe with a personal website or a small blog, Hostinger's shared hosting plans could be a perfect fit. They're affordable, easy to use, and come with a solid set of features.
Plus, that unlimited bandwidth is pretty tempting, even if we have to remember those data transfer limits.
Right, exactly. Always read the fine print. Now, if you're dealing with larger files, lots of media, or expecting a lot of traffic, you'll want to double-check those data limits or consider a higher tier plan from the get-go.
And for those who are a little more, shall we say, tech-savvy, what about them?
Well, Hostinger has you covered there too. They offer VPS and cloud hosting, which give you more power, flexibility, and control. Of course, that comes with a higher price tag, but it's all about finding that balance, right?
Finding the sweet spot between your needs and your budget, it's always a balancing act.
Exactly. And don't forget those daily backups. If you're handling sensitive info or just can't afford to lose any data, that feature alone might be worth springing for a premium plan.
That's a good point. So we've established that Hostinger has a lot to offer, but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. What's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Shop around. Hostinger is definitely a strong contender in the web hosting world, but there are other great options out there too. Compare plans, read reviews, maybe even try out a few different hosts before you fully commit. Most importantly, make sure you click the link in the description to get access to Hostinger.
Click the link in the description to get access to Hostinger. I love that. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as important as your website.
Couldn't agree more. With the right information, you can find a hosting provider that not only fits your budget, but also helps you achieve your online goals.
And there you have it. Another deep dive complete. Another mystery solved. Hopefully you're walking away feeling empowered and ready to conquer the world of web hosting. Until next time, happy hosting.